and my mom have designed this space. It makes it look like a Hallmark special. Today, I wanted to cover what you would need to do if you wanted to fundamentally change your entire life. I know that sounds really lofty and obviously kind of ridiculous coming from some random personal trainer on the internet, but what what I want to cover is the idea of if you really truly wanted to overhaul everything about the things that you can control in your life in service of your goals, what you would need to do. And this is highly idealized, but it comes to a specific thing that ends up changing that you didn't expect. So if you're not happy with your body fat, your health, within the things that you can control, of course, your place in life, your financial situation, all of these things, there's going to be things that you can control and things that you can't control. The first thing you can do is journal all of the things that you can control, that you can have a direct impact on with your actions. You can separate out the things that you that are helping you, right? The things that are the actions, the values that are driving you in the direction that you need to go, and then look at all the actions that aren't. What are the aspects of your lifestyle that are not contributing to the life that you want to live? And having a really good idea of those things, you can then start to document the changes that would need to occur within the things that aren't serving you. And of course, start trying to take steps on those things, right? That sounds super simple because there's obviously lots and lots and lots of things that are probably contributing to the different aspects of your life that you'd like to change. So let's zoom in on fitness specifically. If you wanted to overhaul your life completely in regards to your health and well-being within variables that you can control, the things that you would need to do is document the habits and behaviors that are keeping you where you are. All of the things about your life that led you to the point that you are at today. So good things, bad things, the things about your lifestyle, the things about the way that you eat, what you feel when you eat. That's probably one of the toughest ones. Um, Recognizing that food is so much more multifaceted than just like calories in, calories out, right? Scientifically, that's true. And like we know that the whole calories in, calories out thing comes from like if you were to burn a food in a lab, how much energy is released by that food when you burn it. That's what the calorie number is. And now you don't necessarily ingest and consume every single one of those calories, but it's pretty close. That's like best estimate, which is why we use that metric so often. But like how you actually feel around certain food. When do you choose to eat specific things versus others? For me, I know like emotional eating has been a huge part of my life for my entire life. It's been a self-soothing behavior. And I even find myself now where I'm trying to make these changes in my life, like recognizing when I want to reach for chips, it's not because I would love something crunchy and salty. It's because I want to feel a certain thing. I know how I feel when I eat chips, and I like the way that feels, and it feels better than whatever it is I'm feeling right now. But if you pause and recognize, wait, hold on, what is it that I'm feeling right now? What is it about what I'm feeling right now that I don't want to feel? And why are chips going to be the answer? They're probably not, because what you need to deal with is the feeling that you're feeling. How uncomfortable are you? Um, so, in the reality of that situation, recognizing and documenting the feeling, what led up to that feeling, what are the things that kind of put you in the position to start feeling that way? Is there a normal time of day that you do feel that way? Like, I know a lot of people, I've had clients in the past who love ice cream or sweets at the end of the night. When they're really tired, they just want to sit and veg and watch a show or a movie, and they sit on the couch and eat snacks of some sort, cookies, ice cream, whatever. Now, you can actually do that if you do it mindfully, if you've accounted for it for the rest of your day. Like you've kind of left room with your fats and carbs to make sure that you've gotten everything you need for that day, but you haven't consumed more than you need to. Because if that's in specifically in regards to weight loss, but we're talking about overhauling your life. Knowing that whole sequence of events that leads up to the desire to eat that thing is going to help you, or the thing that happens most regularly. It's going to help you a lot in terms of making sure that you can stop the process before it progresses to the point where you're consuming something mindlessly. Like eating a couple chips, eating a serving of chips, it probably doesn't give you the same dopamine rush that eating an entire bag of chips would. But like really tune into how that feels. The chips don't taste as good by the 15th, 20th chip. The M&Ms don't taste as good by the time you've eaten an entire bag of them. They just don't. Um, so in reality, figuring out, okay, this is the last little bit that I need, like this is the tiny bit of comfort that I'm looking for. But why do I need the comfort in the first place? Why am I uncomfortable? The same thing goes with workouts. When you like, this is the beautiful thing about exercise is any exercise that is more than what you're currently doing will yield a change for a time, excuse me. So if you are pushing yourself to start working out, you don't have to go whole hog into an hour and a half long, crazy hit training CrossFit session. You can start, if you're not doing any exercise, 10 minutes a day will make an impact. Then you increase it to 20, then you increase it to 30, and eventually you get to that 60-minute period where it's like, okay, I can handle this and I know what this feels like. But if you try to go too far too fast, you end up, you know, fighting back. And by fighting back, you mean it's going to feel like a chore instead of feeling like an opportunity. And that difference in mindset is going to either serve you to be successful or to push you away from actually being successful with your goals. Francis, thank you for stopping by. Um, it's a little chilly out here, so I'm holding on to my coffee that's keeping me warm. Um, but recognizing that your what you think you have to do for fitness and what you actually have to do tend to be pretty different to really overhaul your life. Because ultimately, like, so say you nail down your nutrition habits, right? You've gotten to a point where you understand when and why and how you're going to consume what you're going to consume, how much you need to eat, how you feel when you eat that. Um, you've kind of quote unquote nailed the basics: protein, fat, carbs, water, sleep, um, stress management. All of that stuff is nutrition. Then you've slowly started to take ownership of your workouts. You are doing something to keep your body feeling mobile. So what I mean by that is like you are going to accumulate tension when you're doing more activity than you were doing before. And how to mitigate that tension and do it in a smart way that works for your body and doesn't do it like at the expense of something else. That's something you need to be able to do. So with all of these changes, and then of course you got cardio, right? You're lifting, you're doing cardio, like what do you do and how much to do? For your goals, it's going to depend, but say we have mastered those things. In 90 days of doing those things consistently, your life and your physical being will feel and look incredibly different. The biggest thing that will change for you in the act of overhauling your life is your perspective on your life, your perspective on your well-being. That's where the overhaul happens in the biggest way and first. And then that's the thing that will continue to change time over time as you keep trying to improve all of these aspects. Because what you think you have to do at the very beginning, all of those variables that you wrote down and documented, all that stuff, it doesn't mean that those things aren't important. It just means you're not going to be able to address every single one of them consistently forever. What you want to do is make the list, then prioritize the list in the order of things that feel most manageable to you. as you start to tackle those things, it's going to open the door for other things. Your understanding of how your body responds to things is going to open the door to you being able to then take action on the next thing on the list. You're not going to be able to do everything at once. Kyler's on here. If you guys don't follow the Precision Hoister, you absolutely should. The dude is an absolute monster, but also an incredible coach. And he understands, like, when we talk about overhauling your life to work unbelievably hard, that is somebody who truly embodies that. So check him out because he's awesome. Um, and also helps people do that, like, on a level that is like, I mean, these people are incredibly important to be able to control the uncontrollables in their life. So he's an amazing coach. Um, so all of that is to say, you can't overhaul everything at once. And as much as I kind of started with that, like, say you've accomplished all of these things, um, the coolest part about this whole journey and the way that this happens is you become more aware of what you need, what your body needs, what your mindset needs, and then you kind of can prioritize things as they come. And this is probably the most depressing part, but also amazing part. David Cummings, attorney at law, check his page out. That's a man who embodies and has embodied fitness in so many different ways over the course of his life. Um, who's got an incredibly demanding career, but has pushed himself really hard. Um, yes, so perspective. Perspective is the thing you gain most in a fitness journey. And it's the hardest thing to teach because you can't force somebody to gain perspective. They have to gain it themselves. They have to make mistakes. They have to try. Um, and if you don't ever try, you never learn the things that actually will work for you. So I'll wrap this up. I'm not going to keep it too long, but just so that I can kind of give you the way that my personal journey over the last 12 years has ebbed and flowed. Um, when I first started with a personal trainer, I was an engineer. I was working full time, and the only activity I ever cared to do for most of my life was BMX, as you've now seen in my pages more. That's the only thing I wanted to do. Like, I would work out during the winter just to kind of keep myself sane during college. But when I say work out, I mean I would go to the gym once or twice and then I'd be like, nah, whatever. And then I'd go back to playing BMX video games or something. Um, when I was working, I couldn't ride as much, right? Because of course, like, I'm working all the time. How can I ride every day? So I was starting to gain weight. I was drinking more because I was stressed, and I was eating more because I was stressed, because we know that emotional eating is something that I am very prone to. Um, so my wife got me some sessions with a personal trainer. We talked about this last week on the live, but I was 25. That was when I first started working with a trainer to really understand, like, what's going on. And he was awesome. He's a great trainer, helped me a lot in terms of just like getting started. And then I kind of took it over on my own, and I didn't really know what to do. I was kind of trying to do what he taught me to do, um, but like to the best of my ability. And then it wasn't until I really started finding like the calisthenics side of things. Like, I had started scrolling Instagram and I found like his name was Progressive Calisthenics at the time, but it's Ken Gallarzo and Frank Medrano, which I know that mentioning the two in the same conversation is taboo, but those were the two people who like made me go, ooh, this is cool, this is possible. And so I started training to get my first pull-up. I had never done a successful pull-up in my life. All the way back to the presidential physical fitness test back in high school or elementary school. Because I was always like heavier as a kid. So through that journey, I recognized, like, okay, I can do this. I had already lost close to 25 pounds, and I was 220 when I did my first pull-up, 220 pounds. Um, that day, I was so excited to have done my first unassisted pull-up. I couldn't stop myself. All I wanted to do was pull-ups from that day on. Of course, as you start to do that, you accumulate tension and injury. Um, and I was still trying to ride when I could. So little by little, I got heavier and heavier into calisthenics, and I found a group. And that group of calisthenics guys and girls were amazing. And they were also super passionate about this stuff. So I was doing it all the time. All I wanted to do was calisthenics. I wasn't really doing any lower body stuff, unless I was going to see this other mentor that I had who was an amazing trainer who had also quit his job, his corporate job, to become a personal trainer. So the two sides, I had like a group fitness, more like traditional group fitness classes, and the other side was all the calisthenics. When I finally was like, all I want to do is train. I don't want to be an engineer anymore. And my wife told me, quit my job, go ahead, do this. All of this time, I was accumulating wins and mistakes all the way through. I was finding nutrition strategies that helped me drop my body weight. I was finding exercises that helped me do that too, because that was the only thing on my mind was achieving a certain aesthetic. And little by little, I was finding that there were things in fitness that were really fun to accomplish. Um, I won't go through the full 12 years, but fast forward to like year 4 at Equinox, I had accumulated so many certifications of animal flow and body weight training and kettlebells, and I had even done a little bit of powerlifting, and I had done so many things because everything was like shiny object syndrome. I just wanted to try it all. Um, but my big focus that entire time was like keeping my body fat percentage where it needed to be. And I tried to focus on performance goals, but like in the back of my head, all I could think about was body fat, body fat, body fat. So I was always trying to stay as lean as I could, even if I was trying to go at these different other things. So I was resisting some of the perspective that I needed. Even though I was helping other people with it, I couldn't turn that inward. It wasn't until preparing for my stomach surgery where I was like, okay, I'm going to gain some muscle because I know that when I had to be on a liquid diet for the first like month that I had had that surgery. Um, I knew I was going to lose a lot of muscle mass because I wasn't going to be able to consume everything I needed to consume to maintain it. So I was trying to build as much as I could. So that was the first time I'd ever eaten in a surplus intentionally. What I mean by that is eating more calories than I needed to try to gain muscle mass, all the while getting stronger and training like crazy. Um, I missed some steps in there because I thought about like the thing of when my son was first born, but it's all right. We're gonna play this game for right now. Um, it wasn't until after my surgery when I couldn't train that I realized how big of a part of my life it had become. Like, of course I knew, but like the impact that it had on my mental health, the impact that it had on my physical well-being and like the amount of energy and anxiety I felt, it was because I had been getting out a lot of excess energy, and it made me feel so good and so accomplished to keep crushing workouts and goals and all that stuff that like when I couldn't anymore, my identity was very challenged. Um, that also tied into when the pandemic started. So in that case, I still wasn't able to work out the way that I wanted to, the way that I had gotten into the habit of. And I was working with a coach again at the time because I was like, I just need somebody else to take care of that side of things for me. Whatever equipment I have, whatever I can get my hands on, that's what I was using. Um, but you recognize that it all comes back to like addressing those specific needs and specific mindset things that you've documented that you want to change. Um, Now, and again, I'm jumping chapters, but now I'm recognizing how it's less my self-esteem and self-worth that's tied to the workouts, which I guess is a good thing, but it's more I love the way it feels. I love the way it feels having worked out. Like doing the workouts, the challenge, the idea of like pushing myself a little bit harder or even just trying to meet the performance from the previous week, how big of an impact that has on the way I feel and how I'm not worried about the change in my body happening today or tomorrow. I still think about it every day, but I think of more like it's the change is going to happen. The change that I'm trying to make in my body is going to happen. And it doesn't have to happen today, tomorrow, or 6 weeks from now. It's going to happen when it happens. And I know that that sounds insane because you want to see a change happen in a timeline. Um, but as long as you don't intend to quit at the end of that change, then it doesn't matter as much that it, like the most extreme version of it hasn't happened right away. Um, Going all the way back to the beginning where you've documented all of those aspects that you have to change in order to see that. The faster you want your body to change, the more of those variables you have to control. So if you see those big transformations that people are making, they're doing one of two things. They're either batch, like they're taking every single variable that they have in their control and they're pulling it in and they're holding onto it for dear life for a short period of time, right? They've reined it all in and they're squeezing it on for dear life. You can only do that for so long before things start to slip. It happens. Um, so then what you're going to start to recognize is that the things that are slipping are the things that you need to focus on the most, because the things that you can still hold on to when things start to slip, you don't have to worry about those. Those are things that you've already internalized. And that's when your perspective starts to really change. So you can do this journey two ways. You can full speed, control everything, change everything physically as much as possible in the shortest possible period of time, and then slow down and learn what you actually are struggling with. Or you can take your time and slowly change things little by little, one at a time, and recognize that each time you shave off one of those things from your to-do list, you are accomplishing a massive win, and your perspective will continue to change and improve so that each time you go back to that list, you won't find yourself backsliding up where things are essentially uncrossing themselves off, right? I know that sounds like a weird concept and I'm kind of doing this off the top of my head, but like when you rein things in and you hold on for dear life, you think you're checking things off the list, but you're not. You're just grabbing onto them as hard as you can. And you're praying that you keep control of them. But what happens in that backslide when things start to release is you're kind of unchecking them off the list. You're going back up the list because you've gone so far down, hoping you're going to hang on to all of it. And then in reality, you slide back up, and the less ownership you have over that task list or that checklist you made for yourself, the less ownership you have over that, the further back up you're going to go. And the further up that list of things that you can control, the further up you go, the further you backslide back to the life that you're living before you made the changes. Sit with that one for a second. And this is going to be the sound bite that I end up editing out of this. But it's like, if you are trying to change everything all at once with the intention of going back to the life that you lived before you tried to change anything, really take stock of that. Because if you are hoping to go back to the life you're currently living after you've accomplished this weight loss goal or muscle goal or whatever it is, the sad part of that journey is like, we're not changing your perspective. You're not intending to come out the other side a person who is more in tune with what their body wants and needs. You are intending to make a massive aesthetic change only to hope that you can go back to your real life afterwards. Your real life has to change if you want to maintain that aesthetic change. Your real life has to change if you want to maintain the aesthetic that you have built. That's your perspective. What is important to you about your life now? What are the things you love about your life now? What are the things that you are willing to see change? And will those things change the way you look. Overhauling your life in 90 days is not as hard as it sounds, but keeping it, maintaining it, and actually liking the life you've built after 90 days is the challenge. That's the hard part. And that's what we try to do for people. It's not just like help them make the change they want, help you make the change you want, but also teach you all of the things that you need to know, try to help you gain the perspective so that at the end of this change, you actually enjoy this new life that you've built and you don't have to restrict and hold on for dear life in order to maintain a version of your life that you don't even want. Like, really, truly, you don't want it. So, we'll cut that here. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope this is an interesting perspective. In reality, like you can do this. I trust you. I'm proud of you already for the changes that you're making. And if you are really, truly interested in what it would be like to overhaul things in 90 days in a way that ends up being sustainable and exciting and enjoyable, comment coaching on the Instagram live post or here in the school community, book your 30-minute strategy call. Let's talk more through about what those changes would look like for you because you get access to me that the Instagram folks don't unless they really take the steps.